Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. Amanda Shimon Kiki, SPED 5073, June 22nd, 2020. What is PBIS? Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports is an evidence-based prevention framework. It assists in school in achieving positive social, behavioral, and academic outcomes for students in all settings. It's rooted in the theory of behavioralism and consists of the primary prevention, tier 1 or universal support, a secondary prevention, and a tier 3 or an intensive support. 5% of the students need more intensive individualized support, which is our tier 3. 15% are more of a small targeted group, and 80% meet a behavioral expectation of the school and classrooms. The ABC of behavior. Antecedents, these are the things that occur before behaviors. Behaviors are situations that are observable and measurable, actions. And consequences are changes to the stimuli, either an added or decreased occurrence on a contingent behavior. Contingent on behavior, excuse me. 4 PBIS elements: system, data, practices, and outcomes. Systems are the supportive and administrator participation, your professional development, any kind of organizational supports that staff may have within the school. Data is on student behavior and academic performance. That can also be attendance. It's usually collected by the school and teachers. Practices are the interventions and the supports for students, and the outcomes are the relevant and measurable goals that have been observed. The importance of PBIS. When properly implemented, there's much more of a positive climate in the school. It can help improve teacher-student relationships. There's more secure learning environment, and the main focus is to prevent these unwanted behaviors or outbursts that you may have with a frustrated student. School and class-wide interventions. School-wide interventions address all parts of the school. Class-wide interventions are contained within the classroom to help the students directly. Tier 1. These supports help all students in the class and are mainly done as a group. Reward system can be utilized. Praise is another one. This helps to encourage students to keep working hard. The praise should range between schoolwork or respecting other people's properties. Both the reward system and praise are very easy to accomplish, but the reward system needs to actually be planned out and implemented. Posted rules. These rules need to be positive. They need to be gone over multiple times in the first few weeks of school, but also they need to be gone over in the morning time when you first meet. Maybe go over as a reminder. Once you can do it once a day starting out, and then every other day, but definitely want to go over as much as possible so that the students remember exactly what's expected of them and there isn't any confusion. Check in and connect. That's also a really good tier 1. It's a positive, proactive approach that can be utilized early on. It has proven to lessen absences and tardies because students actually want to come in and meet with their teachers or mentors. And a mentor can be chosen in order to provide more support, not just a student-teacher relationship, but then also another relationship to add in there that you can also utilize to help the student function a little bit easier. Here are some check and connect forms. These are homework. There's a weekly homework one. And then the self-monitoring for behaviors and for what's expected. Here's our tier 2. Tier 2 gets to be a little bit more of a singular approach. It should be used in smaller groups, focus on increasing appropriate behavior, interventions that can be used in a general education and a special education class. There should be existing data that needs to be reviewed to identify the appropriate interventions within our tier 2. It's our second step in the PBIS, and we want to make sure that we're making the decisions about the students' ongoing interventions as we go on. Monitoring and peer tutoring, a one-on-one connection with someone who is there, and the student will feel like they're willing to help them to succeed. They have their back. A peer tutor can be useful to students because sometimes they have a harder time to build relationships and to connect with the people around them, with their peers. Social awkwardness. This could provide a student with a system that will help them to get better acquainted with how they can interact with their peers, and give them a little bit more confidence. Check in, check out. Great for keeping students accountable. This is good for students who have a harder time staying focused. It can be very beneficial because students will use this to challenge themselves to get their work done by the end of the day, to check out with their teachers. Here are some forms utilized: check in, check out for the week. I use this one for my older group, and the one with the pictures for my younger group. It helps them out a little bit more with the pictures. Visual schedules are very, very exciting in my class. They should be specific to the student's needs. They can be used when the student has a difficult time remembering what they're supposed to get done, but also when a student maybe needs some reminding that as long as we get through this, we can move on to something else, and they get excited about that something else. Here's some examples of visual schedules. Check, connect, and expect. This provides students with some coaches who help them to, connect with someone right away when they get there, go with them to meet their teachers, because if there's any turmoil from home life, they meet with their coaches. They can get that out to them if need be, or have that added support in the morning to come in and meet with their teachers, and then get their daily tracking sheet that provides them exactly what is expected of them throughout the day, and have some real clear and precise information on them so that the student isn't confused, and that can help with the frustration levels later on. Here is some check, connect, and expect forms. I use these in my classroom. Tier 3. This is more intensive. It's very individualized to the students because they need more intensive interventions for challenging behaviors. This is usually provided in a special education classroom, whether it's a behavior classroom or other. Let's see. Behavior contract. This is a contract between student and teacher, and it stipulates exactly what desirable behaviors are within that classroom. It's customized for the student, and it's really one thing that my students and I, we sit down, we get together, and we talk about the behavior what should happen, what kinds of things should be expected, why things aren't okay. And we really sit down and have a conversation about those things. So then that way, the student is more proactive in their contract. So it doesn't feel like the the teacher is just pushing things onto them. There's a little bit more of an agreement there and an understanding, because if the student feels heard, he or she is more likely, I have found with the experience, to listen to the teacher. Here is a behavior contract form that I use. Behavior intervention plan. This is an improvement plan that lays out how the IEP team is going to handle these difficult behaviors. It can help a teacher address the undesirable problematic behaviors before they occur, and then give the student fewer opportunities to act out in those types of behaviors. Teachers should identify behaviors first before they decide that this intervention is right, and it should really be based off the student's FBA, or functional behavior assessment. Here are some behavior intervention plan forms. Organizational tools. I have found that in my classroom, some of my students have the least amount of troubles because they are more organized. When I give them the proper tools to organize, the behaviors just magically stop. So I like to provide them with different ways of accomplishing their academic goals, whether it's reading folders, graphic organizers, guiding reading areas, or things to help keep their tools, their pencils, papers, things like that. If I can help them with those organizational skills, I will. If those will, I will provide cups, different, we have different organization art for our art areas. We have different organizational tools for our reading areas. And there is a list of rules that we do have to follow in order to utilize those things. And they are talked about regularly. All of the students know what those are. And it's really been very helpful to have different organizational tools within the classroom. Teacher resources. Here's Intervention Central. It provided information for teachers that have struggling students. PBIS.org. It's filled with information for parents and educators for the implementation of the PBIS at all levels. PBIS World website, the different types of behaviors, how they may look, and it has all 3 tiers for data tracking. And Classroom Management book. This book was awesome. It shows you how to create an environment that's safe for all of your student learning. It's amazing. I love it so much. I can't say enough about it. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope that it's everything that you wanted and more. Thank you so much.